Welcome back. All right, so we're off to part 2 of the series for admin. That's the mckissick.admin.com website. And just as a reminder, this is the back end of the brand website. So anytime a customer registers on the website for a username and password or makes a purchase or both, the information for their record and purchase will be housed in this program. So finishing the last one, you should remember your login information and how to log in. If you don't remember, please stop this video, go to number 1 admin search, and just watch that real quickly to get how to log back in again. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to sign in, and we'll recognize all this because we went over how to search for customers in the previous video, as I mentioned. So this time we're going to dive into user information. So again, I'm just going to throw a name in here, James Gibbs, and see what results come up. And nothing came up. James, that's why. See how picky this is? It's actually James Gibb, and I put an S on it to begin with. So now we should get some results here. That looks much better. All right, so we learned what all of these little fields are up here, and I mentioned this view link, and that's what we're going to go over right now. So I'm going to go ahead and click view. And when the information comes up here, there we go. We'll go through it. So right off the bat here, I see his username. And this is all about the user info. Here I can change username if I need to. Be very wary doing this. When you're changing names, usernames, this also needs to be done in NetSuite as well. So the accounts still tie together, because if you change the username in admin and you don't in NetSuite and that customer makes a purchase, it's very likely that admin is going to create another user profile. So they'll end up having 2 registered accounts and 1 NetSuite account, and then they won't see all of their courses on one page because they'll be split up in separate logins. So very important. Next, there's a lot going on in this user info section, and there's only a few things that we actually use. So the other item that we will use every now and then is reset password. When we click this reset password, an email is automatically sent to the email address that's on file under this user info profile. So this is handy if customer lost their password, or you had just created an account through NetSuite and it has not created that password yet. You can go ahead and click that reset password and it'll create that information and send out the email to the customer. So it's kind of handy. Another little trick that we've used in the past is having that password sent to our email. So if you have the purpose or reason to need to do that, you'll have to change the email on the admin account here to your email to receive that email. And then once you receive it, don't forget to change the email back to the customers. All right, so that's reset password. And then some of you McKissick users and possibly other brands may have to use this lock account function. I know specifically for the McKissick brand, Texas Real Estate has the security questions that pop up throughout the course. And if customer doesn't answer it correctly, uses a capital letter when it should have all been lowercase, or it wasn't in the right format in general, then the account is going to lock. And this is where we have to come to unlock that account. Okay. The next one is course information. Now, I would click this, but it'll take us to another section that I'm going to leave for a next segment of this module series. And so just know here, course information is going to take you to the next page, which will show you all the courses the customer is enrolled into, and then you can drill down into the details of that specific course if you need to. All right, next one is show password. This does not work for all brands, so you'll want to check with your instructor. Password is very sensitive information, and actually it's best practices across this across the customer service world that we don't have access to the password, and here's why. A lot of people use the same password for everything. I mean, think about that for a moment. We have to create user logins, register on many different websites, and it always asks for this username and password. And if you create an individual one for each of those, you're going to have thousands of login information that you need to keep somewhere or remember, okay? So us as a user and our customers usually have the tendency to use the same password for everything, and that includes banking or any other sensitive information. So again, very important that this is confidential information. If you don't have access to this information, that is why. So I'm going to go ahead and move on down this section here. And the next one is entering student social security number. So again, there are brands where we have to gather their social security number information in order to send the completion information or roster to the state board. We usually only ask for the last 4 digits, sometimes the last 6, whatever needs to be captured. The only place we have the ability to enter this information is in admin in this field. So you would type in the number and click save social security number. Okay, pretty simple. Once it's in there, we don't have access to it again. Only the regulatory department can pull that information. So you can tell your customer, rest assured, we don't have access to it, just the department that needs the information will. Okay. Next little section here is entering the new NetSuite customer internal ID. So there are times where a customer pre-registers on the website and you created a new account in NetSuite, and we need to tell those two systems to communicate. All right, and the way we do that is we'll get the NetSuite internal ID from NetSuite, and we'll plug that number into this field here. I'll show you the details of that when we get into the NetSuite side of the training. Another situation where we might have to enter a NetSuite customer ID is if customer had logged into, say, their father's account and placed an order and took a course or whatever that is, we'll have to separate that father-son accounts into 2 separate accounts, so they have 2 separate courses. So that would be another reason. All right, moving on. Name and info, pretty self-explanatory here. First, last, middle, initial. Suffix is extremely nice if they use one. That's junior, senior, second, third, whatever it might be. Not many states require gender anymore, so very rare will you see this information in this program. If you need to edit any of this information, just simply click Edit Section, make any changes that you need to, and then you will save the information. All right, so I'm pretty sure James is a male. I'll go ahead and just mark it as male and click Save. All right, as soon as this saves, we'll go to the next section, which will be the contact info. There we go. All right, so contact information, again, very self-explanatory here. We can edit this section and make any updates or changes that we need to. A lot of times what needs changed most often is email addresses. People change email addresses as often as their socks. So that information you would change in this section here. Another important thing to note is if you are updating the information in the NetSuite account or in this admin account while you're verifying information with the customer to make sure it's correct, it's extremely important that you go to that opposite program and make the updates there so that the information matches. One thing that these programs don't do very well is communicate any changes when there's not a course being uploaded to the website, okay? So make those changes in both places. All right, so what do we have here? Company name, always good to know. If there are products that we sell specifically to businesses versus an individual. So if we see a company name on here and you're talking to the customer, that's a great way to segue into some of those products and try to upsell them to those products. Okay, and then address line 1. We don't use address line 2 when the information goes in NetSuite and we print those labels from NetSuite. Address line 2 never appears on the label, so keep everything on address line 1. If they have a physical address and a PO box, ask them which one you want them to, or excuse me, ask them, let me try that again. Ask them which one they want to use to have their mail sent to. It's nice to have the one that matches with the state board as well. Some states actually need the address and the name and license number to match in order to report their completion information. So there we have address, city, state, and zip code. That's all easy peasy. Daytime phone number, evening phone, fax, whatever information we can get, that's great. Email address. We only have the capability of housing one in admin. If customer has multiple emails, we can actually house those additional emails in the NetSuite program. All right, so we're going to move on to the next section, which is licensing information or license info. So this is the customer's professional license. And the example that we have here, they actually don't have a number in this in the field. So we're going to play around with this, and then I'll show you how to also remove. In this case, when the customer was registering, they put in their license number and I guess didn't realize that they hit the button to enter that information, and so they did it again. That's why we're seeing two here. So I'm just going to play with one of them, and we're going to click edit so we can edit those fields. Okay, and we need to edit this one. So I'm going to click edit on the line item we're going to actually change. And my system's running a little bit slow here. It's probably my internet connection. All right, so the information popped up here, appraisal continuing education in Illinois. I'm going to go ahead and enter a license number here to show you what that looks like. It doesn't have a specific format that has to be entered, although we'll talk about this continuously through this training. License numbers do have a format, and some states are extremely specific about what that number needs to look like. So if you're unsure, I'll show you later on in the training how to verify what the format of that license number should be. All right, so let's do this. I'm just going to add a number here, click save. And here in a brief moment, that number will appear. There we go. So now if I logged in as the customer on the website, he would have two license lines, I guess, two license lines showing on his account information, one without a number, one with a number. Because I'm just playing around with this and this is not his actual number, I'm going to delete this line. And you would do this if you saw multiple licenses with the same information. Okay, so when we first started here, we saw the two and one without a license. I would have deleted one. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that one I just put in. And then we'll go on to the next section. There it goes. Click finish because I'm done editing the license information. All right, there we go. Next part is security information. Now, as with the lock button under the user info, remember I showed you that here in a few moments ago. I'm losing track of time. So lock account, that's specific to particular brands. With the security info, that's the same as well. So we have different security questions, and the answer to those would appear in here, and then their birth date. Birth date actually gets entered, or we'll have that information more than we'll have actual security questions entered. So just so you know where this information is, you can come here and make any updates if necessary. All right, the next one, I'm going to skip over partnership info. We don't use that in the call center, so I'm just going to go right down to payment info. And there's a couple of things I want to go over here with you on this section. So the first part is this payment. We have a payment date of August 13, 2016. They paid $224.99. They used a credit card. This transaction ID is not their credit card number. First of all, we would not have access to their full number anyways. Second of all, this is the CyberSource transaction ID, and that's the company we use as the middle person to transfer money between customer and ourselves, or vice versa. Now, we have a link here called View Details. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And what's going to happen is a little pop-up's going to come up. There it is, and it's going to show the details of what they purchased. It's great. We know the date and how much they paid and all that, but what did they buy? And in this situation, James bought an Illinois 75-hour trainee bundle package with a 3-hour supervisor trainee course. And the regular price would have been $899.95, and then they only paid the $224.99. Kind of handy. All right, so I'm going to close that. And then we're going to go into this next section here. I'm going to attempt to close it. So I apologize, I'm back. I had to close the screen I was on. My browser hung up and I had to close it down. I didn't want you to see me cursing at my screen, so we're starting over here. Back to this section. So we just talked about payment date. Now we're going to talk about payment plans. And there are a few different things that we need to go over in regards to student payment plans. There are two different kinds. So the first one is an online payment plan. That means customer purchased a payment plan package, or a package with a payment plan, say that 5 times fast, on our website. And that information gets housed here, and it looks just like this. And then we have another payment plan that is in-house. That is where a customer service rep such as yourself created a payment plan in NetSuite. And that information will not show in admin. It's internal for NetSuite only. All right, here we are at the payment plan. This student did purchase a payment plan with this package. This $224.99 was actually the first payment he made on the day he purchased the package. The corresponding payments will come out on the same date the following month for 3 more months. So they have a total of 4 payments that they'll make on these packages. So here is what it looks like. We have our student payment option ID, the payment plan description, which was for that package that we discussed a moment ago. There's a cancel payment plan button here, which I'm going to go into detail in just a moment. And then down below, here are the details of the following payments. So the first one, the $224.99 on August 13th, the day he placed the order, it was processed and it did not fail. That's what false means. You have to kind of think of it opposite. The column says failed. Did it fail? False, it did not. So we can move on, and the next month, the next payment will go out. All right. So this transaction ID goes with this first payment here. All right. Now the next one came out on the 13th of September, and that also went through. And here is the transaction ID for that one. And then finally, on October 13th, I shouldn't say finally, I said on October 13th, the third payment came out, and that also did not fail. So that was a good payment, and there's the transaction code. However, when we look at this fourth payment, we're seeing that it attempted to go out on November 13th, and something happened and we got a general decline error code. So we didn't get our payment. Now, this happens, and we do have information on the customer's My Account to let them know that their payment didn't go through and to update their credit card information or to call customer service. I don't know what happened in this particular situation, but that is what a failed online payment plan looks like. All right, so 3 payments went through just fine, last one failed. Now, let's back up a little bit and say customer calls in and wants to pay off the balance of this account. All right. In this case, he only had 1 payment left, so we wouldn't really have to do much with it. However, if customer has multiple payments left, it is extremely important when we take that payment in NetSuite to pay off the balance of that invoice that we then come into NetSuite, or excuse me, that we then come into admin and we click this cancel payment plan button. Let me say that again, because I cannot stress how important this is. If a customer calls in and says, I want to pay off my payment plan, and they have multiple payments left or even 1 payment left, when you get done taking that payment, admin needs to be the next step. All right, log in, pull up their account, come to this section and click this cancel payment plan button. If we don't do that for these online payment plans, that next month's payment is going to come out regardless of us having the full balance paid in NetSuite. All right. That balance comes out, that customer's on the phone again, very upset that we took a double payment. All right, and then we need to pull in someone else outside of customer service to either cancel that payment or refund the payment. Very important. All right, so we have gone over all the information. Let's just look at it one more time. We have the user info here where we can reset password. We can unlock an account. We can click this course button, course information button, and go look at their courses in detail. And we can also get access to their password, enter a social security number, add a NetSuite customer ID or change that ID, make any updates to name, contact info, license info. We can check out their security information if we need to validate some information. And lastly, get details about their online purchases and see details about their online payment plans or cancel a payment plan if they've called in to make payment for the balance of the order. All right, so we are done with this segment. The next segment that we'll go over are course information details. So I'll see you in the next video.